Hi guys, welcome to Full Time Devils. I am Adam McCullough and this is a brand new top 10 for you guys, and it is top 10 battles. Yes, the battles that we have seen on and off the pitch between Manchester United and their rivals. We don't get to see many of them these days. I mean, I was getting pumped up when I saw Bardsley and Marcus Rashford square off during the Burnley game, and the closest thing we get is me against Statman Dave. But we're going to go through the archive, go through the history, and have a look at some of the best battles we've seen. We're even going to look at managers too. In at number 10 is Mourinho against Conte. Now, Jose Mourinho identified Antonio Conte and his Chelsea side as our main rivals for that coveted second spot. Conte did start the battle, let's not forget this, but Jose Mourinho definitely finished it and definitely come out on top in the war of words. He brought up his match fixing. United fans were singing about his weave. It was all going off. It was a great battle. It was the kind of battle I really crave for at the top of the table. Nevertheless though, Antonio Conte maybe had the last laugh on the pitch beating Manchester United in his final game for Chelsea in the cup final. But there's only one manager still in their job, and that's Jose Mourinho. There was a long-standing mutual hatred between both Manchester United's Gary Neville and Liverpool. He even took one for the team after a late victory thanks to a Rio Ferdinand header at Old Trafford. Gary Neville ran up to the Liverpool end, celebrating his head off like a true Manchester United fan would. He was fined for it, but he absolutely didn't care. He took that fine on the chin because there was nothing better than celebrating like that against the Scousers. No one would have been happier to have helped Manchester United knock the Scousers off their perch than Gary Neville, and he's still involved in a long-standing rivalry with Scouser Jamie Carragher on the telly every week. Go on, Gary. Number 8, another United versus Liverpool battle. It was Suarez versus Patrice Evra. Now, a rivalry started by Luis Suarez racially abusing Patrice Evra. What an absolute scumbag. But it did heat things up on the pitch, and Luis Suarez even went as far as to play the victim and not shake the man's hand that he had just racially abused in the following. What was going on there? It didn't last long though, because Rio and Evra clattered into him and he got it for the rest of the game. It was a great rivalry on the pitch. Unfortunately, started in ugly circumstances. We even saw Liverpool defending the racists with t-shirts. It was absolute madness. Patrice Evra though did have the last laugh, winning the league title and of course celebrating on the pitch in front of Luis Suarez. In at number 7, and it's one of our all-time greats that wore number 7, Cristiano Ronaldo against Ashley Cole. Now there was no hatred in this battle. It was a pure footballing rivalry, and it was a fantastic footballing rivalry too, because not only did you have one of, if not the best attacking player in the world, you also had one of, if not the best left back in the world up against him. And they had some intense battles. Some of them, Ashley Cole came out on top in. Some of them, Cristiano Ronaldo came out on top in. But it wasn't only at club level. For Arsenal and Chelsea against United, we also see them battle between England and Portugal. Absolutely incredible. We know as well, Portugal came out on top in those battles, unfortunately for England fans. But nevertheless, it was a fantastic battle to see. And in the end, Cristiano Ronaldo did get the last major victory, scoring in the Champions League final in 2008 to help Manchester United to the European Cup and Premier League double. Ah, the days. In at number 6, now this is what I call truly kicking racism out of football. Eric Cantona versus the Crystal Palace fan. Now you already know what happened in this game at Selhurst Park. Manchester United against Crystal Palace. The hooligan, as Eric Cantona calls him, shouts some xenophobic abuse at the King. The King responds by looking at him and launching into a flying kick into the fans. It cost Eric Cantona 9 months of his footballing career, and he had to do some community service as well. But he returned, and in fantastic fashion as well, helping United to a 2-2 draw against the Scousers, scoring a penalty and celebrating on the pole. It was great to see the King back at Manchester United, and kicking the hooligan was something he described as his greatest ever moment. What a man. In at number 5, Keown. There's only one Keown. Yes, and he took out Alfred Inga Haaland. This was a long-standing feud. Now, it started in a game between Manchester United and Leeds and ended in a game between Manchester United and Manchester City. Could it get any better? Starting and ending in 2 games against some of our worst rivals? Roy Keane truly did live up to that. Now, it started with Alpha Inga Haaland stood over Roy Keane after Roy Keane had injured his crucial ligaments in his knee and accusing him of feigning injury. Now, Roy Keane was a man that would never ever feign injury. He wouldn't feign a smile, never mind an injury. And Roy Keane didn't forget about this moment because Manchester United played Manchester City at Old Trafford and he launched into an astonishing challenge, knee-high on Alpha Inga Haaland, stood over him, replicating that abuse that Haaland had given him at Ellen Road on that day, and he wrote about it fantastically in his book as well. An incredible moment, an incredible rivalry. Roy Keane absolutely lived for these moments, but it was something that really was unimaginable in football. Someone injuring someone and then going on to write about it and admit that that was exactly what he wanted to do. Oh, Keano. Number 4. Now, this is probably the best Premier League managerial clash ever. In fact, not probably, it most definitely is. Sir Alex Ferguson versus Arsene Wenger, an all-time Premier League clash. We had Arsenal versus Manchester United, the 2 top teams in the country going head to head. Now, in the prime of the battle, Ferguson and Wenger was heated. So many moments on the touchlines where they'd come into, nearly grabbing each other, nearly looking to have a little scrap on the sidelines, and it was replicated on the pitch by both of their teams. Now, Wenger did have his moments where he came out on top, but more often than not, it was Sir Alex Ferguson. Eventually, Fergie began to love Wenger, and it was a real sign Arsenal weren't as competitive as they once were. And we even saw some classy touches by Manchester United, such as Sir Alex Ferguson coming on the pitch for Wenger's last ever game against the club and presenting him with a lovely trophy. Funnily enough, it was the only silverware he got that season, and United had even given him players like Mikel Silvestre over the years and persuaded Arsene Wenger to give us Robin van Persie. We know what happened after that. Regardless though, it was an absolutely incredible, fierce, one of the best battles I've ever witnessed in football between 2 of the best managers we've seen in the Premier League. Obviously, Sir Alex is the greatest of all time, but what a battle it was, and we'll probably never see the like again. Number 3, Van Nistelrooy versus Keown. Now, this is one that still gets my blood boiling to this day. Whenever I see Martin Keown, I just want to deck him. And I'm sure Ruud the Hitman Van Nistelrooy feels the same whenever he sees the man himself. Now, this started in a game at Old Trafford. It was a game that ended 0-0, and it was during Arsenal's 49-game unbeaten run. Van Nistelrooy steps up for a penalty in the last minute in front of the East Stand at Old Trafford, rifles it against the crossbar. It stays 0-0, and Martin Keown proceeds to do a chimpanzee act around the player, causing all sorts of madness to erupt, and a battle between 2 sides that resulted in the FA handing out some big punishment in both fines and suspensions. Van Nistelrooy never ever did forget that hurt though, and never ever did forget that treatment from Martin Keown and Arsenal. And in a game where Arsenal were on 49 games hoping to make it 50 unbeaten at Old Trafford in front of the Stretford end, Ruud van Nistelrooy had a chance to set the record straight, end their unbeaten record, score a penalty, put those memories behind him. And that he did. He ran into the corner screaming, and I can still hear that scream to this day. It's a celebration that puts the hairs up on my arms, on the back of my neck. I absolutely adored Ruud van Nistelrooy, and seeing him get his revenge against Arsenal and Martin Keown was just absolutely lovely. In at number 2, Keane versus Vieira. Yes, this is a battle that was much replicated on the sidelines by their managers Fergie and Wenger. See, number 4 in the top 10 countdown. But this one between the 2 on the pitch was so fierce. So fierce. We saw them grabbing each other around the throat. We saw them flying into challenges together. We saw absolutely everything. They even popped up with some very crucial goals in these games. I remember Roy Keane grabbing a brace at Highbury in a Manchester United victory. Roy Keane hated Arsenal, hated Vieira, and the feelings were absolutely mutual. 2 captains of the 2 top teams in England, managed by 2 managers that hated each other. The scene was set for some absolutely incredible battles, and that was what we got to see. It always went down when Keane and Vieira were on the pitch. Battles in the midfield, battles in the tunnel, battles in the press. It had absolutely everything. Two world-class midfielders going at it in the prime of their game. It was an incredible battle, and Roy Keane's United would come out more often than not on top. But Vieira did have his moments. He even gave Giggsy the ball when Arsenal won football. In at number 1, Bully's special prize. Nah, I'm kidding, that's a different show. It's Fergie against Liverpool. Fergie versus Liverpool, the biggest battle in Manchester United's history. That's at least what's making it number 1 in our top 10. Fergie once said, "My greatest challenge was knocking Liverpool right off their f***ing perch," and you can print that. And that he did when he arrived at the club, Liverpool, with a top team in the country. They had won the lot, a lot more than Manchester United. But when he left, Fergie had well and truly knocked them off their perch. He had taken over their dominance of English football. He had become the main man in English football, and Manchester United had become the team to beat. Battles with Evans, Houllier, Dalglish and Benitez usually saw Manchester United and Sir Alex Ferguson come out on top. Come back when you've got 18, they said. Well, how about 20? Now, obviously, there's been loads of battles in Manchester United's history. And as a young man, yes, I'm still young, just. Don't know why I'm looking at my clock. But anyway, United's battles in history, some of them I just haven't managed to see. So of course, they're not going to be in my top 10. But if there's any I've missed out that are before my time, feel free to chuck them in the comments. So there you have it, guys. Those are the top 10 Manchester United battles. Let us know what you guys thought about those in the comments below. Which one is your favorite? I miss a good battle in the Premier League. Who do you think's on the come up for a little battle? What battles are in the pipeline? Let us know that in the comments too as well. And also, before I go, do me one favor, guys. Click that link in the description below. It's for the Northwest Football Awards, and vote for Full Time Devils as your fan TV channel of the year. You can also chuck in a few votes for the Manchester United players up for awards too, David De Gea, Tahith Chong, and hopefully it's a red awards night. We'll see you later.